Hello, and welcome to the Rough Edges podcast with Sarah I. Fox. In this podcast, I will guide you through my faith and mental health journey to dispel the stigma surrounding mental illness and to create an empowering resource for those who wish to discover more about these topics. I pray that this podcast will not only bless you, but that it will bring growth and healing to our communities. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a different type of episode on Rough Edges. For those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Sarah I. Fox, and I am the host of the Rough Edges podcast, which is a podcast that talks about the intersection of faith and mental health for complete and holistic healing. So this episode is going to be a mid-season update because I went on hiatus a couple of times in the past 3 months, and I felt like it wouldn't be fair for you guys not to know what's going on, especially if you guys are faithful listeners, which I know you are. So it took me a while to actually get comfortable enough to express what has been happening over the past few months, but to make a long story short, I suffered another mental health episode, and so that's the gist of it. I'm not going to go into details about how the episode was or anything. If you really want to know about mania and everything that entails with bipolar disorder, feel free to check out the very first episode, which is called Welcome to Rough Edges. And I also talk about mania along the way in the podcast. Another good episode to check out is Phenomenal Healing, how to be Black, Christian, and bipolar. So I cover mania and what that entails, so feel free to check it out for the information. But this episode is not about the mania, it's more about recovery and what that looks like in a person's life. And I wanted to discuss the drawbacks of recovery, the hope that could come with recovery, and I also want to share 4 things about recovery in order to not only help you all, but in order to help me know that recovery is a normal part of the process. So the first thing that I want to share is that recovery is a normal part of the healing process. Like, there will always be a time where you feel like you've had a setback or where life knocks you down flat on your behind and you're wondering how you're going to make it through. That moment where you feel like you can't go on, that's the moment where recovery comes in. Like, you know that you can recover. You can be able to get up and you can be able to move into recovery. And recovery could look like a number of different things. For me, my recovery looks like just doing the things that I know that I love to do, quieting my brain, making sure that I'm not getting too super excited right now, because when you're in a manic state, you get euphoric. So just making sure that I take my medicine, that I'm surrounded by friends and family who care about me, and thank God that I am. But recovery could look different for everybody, but just know that just because you're in recovery doesn't mean that your life is on hold. It doesn't mean that you have like issues or you're not doing what you need to do in life. Everybody at some point is going to have a recovery season, and we just have to embrace it as part of the healing process. So that was the first thing. The second thing I want to share is that when you fall, don't take too long to get back up. It's not about how you fall, it's how you get up that matters most. And I was speaking to one of my cousins, and she was telling me that recovery is the most important part. Like, your whole life is basically you being in recovery, because sometimes you have to take detours, sometimes you have to do certain things in order to make sure you have money. Sometimes finances run out. Sometimes homelessness is an issue. So life can throw a number of things at you. But what you have to remember is that it doesn't matter about the fall. Like, everybody falls. It matters about how you get back up. And the Bible also says, I think it's in the Psalms or the Proverbs, I will put it in the link in the description, but the Bible says that a righteous man falls 7 times. And even if that righteous man fell 7 times, God is there to pick him back up. So it's not about the fall, it's more about how you get back up and how you continue to walk despite the fall. The third thing that I want to share is that make sure you have a recovery plan and a support system. So during my mental health episode, I had to get re-hospitalized. And so after the hospital, I was given a safety plan by my care team, and then also I had my mom and my sister and my friends and cousins and, just other people on my side to be able to help me recover. And recovery is so important, especially when you have a team of people behind you. And I know it could be annoying. Oh, I have to speak to my doctor. Oh, I have to speak to my psychiatrist and my therapist. Why do I have to speak to so many people? I get it because I felt that way. Especially when I was first hospitalized, I felt like, why do I need to talk to 10 different people and tell them the same thing over and over, tell them my story? But it's relevant and it's necessary because when you have a team of people behind you, you can have blind spots in recovery. And those people can be able to look into those blind spots and help you be able to walk forward in your healing process. And community is very important. And if you don't have a community, I suggest you look at your life and see if there's one person that you do trust and talk to them because you really do need a support system. And I'm not just talking to people who are neurodivergent and have mental health conditions. I'm talking to neurotypical people who feel like they don't really need the therapy or feel like they don't really need the extra support. Therapy is for everyone. And psychiatry is where you get your meds and the prescription for your meds. And so there are different layers to treatment. But going to therapy is not a bad thing. You could go to therapy literally to plan out what goals you have in life, to see where you're going or what your journey is going to look like, or even bounce off of them as a sounding board for like personal things that you feel like you can't tell your friends or family. Like having a therapist really changed my life, and I'm so grateful for the therapist that I have now because she is amazing and she's also black and she has cultural competence, and that's something else that is very important when finding a therapist or a mental health provider. Yes, you're not going to get your preference every single time, but make sure that you at least express that I would rather talk to someone who has a similar cultural experience to me. And I tell you this, it makes the difference. So make sure you have a recovery plan and also make sure you have people to talk to for that plan so you could be able to execute it well and recover without extra stress. And lastly, I want to let you know that recovery is difficult, but it's a vital part of your resistance while healing. So, recovery is not a walk in the park, right? Like me, even recording this episode and, getting this information out there, this was months in the making because I was going through what I went through. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with being in recovery. I know a lot of people think that being in recovery is you being in the ICU and you broke your leg or something, you have to be in the hospital. Yes, hospitalization is a part of it, but being in recovery could happen at any moment in your life. You could be down on your luck, you could be, taking a little hiatus. Like taking a break is not bad. It is something that you can use to rejuvenate so you could go back to the things that you love. And I think in our society, especially if you're from New York like me, it's the hustle and bustle of life that we keep getting into that is burning us out and keeping us from actually doing the things that we are called to do. Sometimes we get so bogged down with our jobs, with our, obligations at home, especially if you have a family and everything. There are a lot of hats that you wear and a lot of things that you juggle. So I just want to encourage you that if you need some time for rest, if you need to go on a sabbatical, if you need to go on a hiatus, do that. Because while you're in recovery, you need to minimize the things that are going to bring you stress and maximize the things that bring you hope and things that you love. Like for me, recording this podcast, is the best thing ever because I love my podcast. I love podcasting, and I've come a long way in terms of actually even getting to hear my voice on recordings. But I say all this to say is that do something that rejuvenates you. Think about certain things that give you joy, like whether it be hanging out with the people that you like or just having people surrounding you, or maybe if it's not people, maybe you just want to go in your room, close the door, and just decompress from a stressful day. Whatever it is, definitely make it happen because having something great and fun that you like to do is really amazing, especially during the recovery period. Well, that's all that I had to share for you. Like I said, I'm giving you a mid-season update. Episodes are probably going to be released like next month in November. So I'm just trying to give you a mid-season update just so you know where I'm at and where the podcast is headed, and just so I don't leave you guys in the dark as to what's going on. So if you want more of this, you could definitely check me out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and Amazon Music. I'm also on there. And also, I will leave the social media handles in the description below. And yeah, that is all for today. So I pray that you be safe, be well, and stay tuned for more empowering episodes on Rough Edges. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rough Edges podcast with Sarah I. Fox. If you want more updates on the podcast, you can follow on Instagram at rough.edges.podcast, or you can visit the official podcast website at roughedgespodcast.com. Thanks again for listening and have a wonderful day.